Hi viewers, welcome back to MasterJSkills. In this tutorial, we will understand what is a IOC in general and what is a IOC container in Spring Framework. So if you are new to MasterJSkills, please subscribe to the MasterJSkills and press the bell icon to get all the updates. So without making much delay, let's get started. Let's understand what is a IOC in general. So IOC is all about inverting the control. So inverting means it's an order or the arrangements. So IOC is all about inverting the control. The inversion of control is a design pattern. Some people call it as a pattern or a principle. As the name suggests, it is used to invert a different kind of controls in the object-oriented design to achieve loose coupling. So the main intention of IOC is loose coupling. So it is giving a control, it is giving some order, like a container itself is giving some order. It's not the responsibility of a developer. So it is controlling the inversion. So it's a one of the design pattern that they have built for achieving loose coupling in object-oriented design. Here, control refers to any additional responsibility a class has other than its main responsibility. So you can understand additional responsibility a class has other than the main responsibility. This includes like additional responsibility. What are those? It includes control over the flow of an application and control over the flow of an object creation or dependent object creation and binding. So these all are additional responsibility where the container will have a control over these responsibilities. So this is quite tricky to understand. It's a inversion of control. So for controlling all the responsibilities of flow of an application, control of flow of an object creation or dependent object creation and binding, these all it will be handled by the container. So that's what this is a in general understanding what is the inversion of control. Instead, without understanding what is IOC, you should not have to jump into the container, IOC container. So understand what is the inversion of control in general. So it's an order, it's a control that it is handling some responsibility. So it is giving some order or the arrangement. So that's a design pattern they have built to have a loose coupling, to achieve loose coupling into the application. So hope you understood what is the IOC in general. Let's understand what is a IOC container in Spring Framework. So the Spring IOC container, the IOC inversion of container is responsible. The IOC inversion of container is responsible to instantiate, configure and assemble the objects. The IOC container gets the information from the XML file and works accordingly. So when you think of a Spring Framework application, there will be an XML file or else you will be having annotations. So but basically it contains an XML file. I'll show you all the configuration how we can do into the XML files. That is the application context.xml, which is a default name where the IOC controller is looking for. So it will get all the information from that file, that XML file, and it works accordingly. The container will start its responsibility to instantiate, configure and assemble the objects. So that is what it will achieve the loose coupling. It will not depend like tight coupling and all. It will not happen into the application. This is completely the configuration which we will be doing into the XML file. According to the XML file, the Spring IOC container will act or work. So this is how Spring IOC controller will have a control on all the responsibility. These responsibilities, that is instantiation, configuration, assembling objects, binding, object creation till managing its life cycle, everything will be handled under by the IOC container using the XML file. You can see the main task performed by the IOC container are instantiate the application class, configure the object, assemble the dependency between objects. This is nothing but a binding of an objects. So this is all the main task which is performed by the IOC container in the Spring frame. So there are two types of IOC containers. They are bean factory container and application context container. These are the two main IOC containers which exist in the Spring framework. So here you can look into the diagram where bean factory is an interface and application context is an interface which extends a bean factory. So bean factory is a parent interface. So when we are implementing bean factory through the bean factory container, we can use a default listener bean factory class. We can implement default listenable bean factory, whereas if you are going with an application context, then you can implement with a file system XML application context, class path XML application context, XML web application context, or annotation config application context. So these four are the implementation of application context, whereas default listenable bean factory is an implementation for the bean factory. Though the bean factory is a parent, so it inherits all the features available in the bean factory into the application context. So it's better to choose application context, but in case it's not required for these many responsibilities, then you can go for only the bean factory with a default listenable bean factory. So let's understand bean factory container. So I'll just go with an theoretical way, but in upcoming all the examples. So in upcoming all the examples, I'll be using the application context only instead of bean factory. So I'll just go through the bean factory container. Bean factory container is basic container which supports only DI, that is dependency injection, or a bean wiring. So it supports only dependency injection or bean wiring. In the bean factory container, the bean instances are created lazily. So there are two types of creation, that is lazy creation and eager creation. So bean factory creation will be lazy creation. So it supports a basic dependency injection or a bean wiring. So we can start a bean factory container by using bean factory. Here you can see fully qualified class name, that is a bean factory interface. This is how we can implement our bean factory interface. So as I said, there will be an application context. To fetch this application context XML, we will be having these many set of configurations into our application. So this will contain all the configuration which are required for our application. So this is how we can implement a bean factory container. In a Spring application, the bean factory loads the bean definitions and wires the beans together. Bean wiring is a process of associating the beans. So associating beans. So if you go through the application.context XML, you will understand much better. So as of now, you can just have a look on this. I will explain with an example using a application context interface, not a bean factory. When we are using application context container, where it extends a bean factory interface, therefore provides a basic support for dependency injection. So we will be inheriting the dependency injection. It is an advanced container which has an extra facilities which are not available with the bean factory container. That's why it's better to go with the application context container. So this container which makes a Spring a framework by providing infrastructure support for integrating with various technologies like JSF, Hibernate, JPA, JTA, JNDI, etc. In the application context container, the bean instances are created eagerly. So in the bean factory interface, bean instances are created lazily, whereas in application context, it's created as a eagerly. So it's a very advanced container where it is giving you a various supports, like integrating with various technologies. Without putting a much effort, you can just make use of application context to integrate any of the infrastructures. So this is the main difference between the bean factory and application context container. Again, it's up to you what supports your application, or you, according to your requirement, you can make use of the container. The application context has a many implementation, as we have already saw in the diagram. That is a class path XML application context, which loads the bean definition from an XML file located into the class path. So it's completely the same only, but where exactly the application located, that is what the matter of the implementation. So it loads the definition from the class path. So that's what the implementation of a class path XML application context for the application context container. Next is a file system XML application context, loads the bean definition from an XML file located into the file system. So you can observe the above one is a class located into the class path, the file system is located in the file system. So next is annotation config application context. It loads the bean which are configured with an annotation. So that's the difference where exactly it has to load the definitions. Next is XML web application context, loads the bean definition from an XML file contained in a web application. So these are the different implementation of a application context container. So we can start application context by using, so we can directly load the application context file using a class path application context or any of the above implementation like this. This is how we can implement. So I will show you the XML application context.xml file in upcoming videos with an examples to understand better. So these are the two different containers available in the Spring IOC container. So that's all about the IOC and IOC container. So into the Spring framework. Hope you all understand what is a IOC in general and what is the Spring IOC container and what all the different containers available in this Spring framework. So that's all about this video. If you have any doubts, feel free to drop into the comment box. I'll make sure to answer all your queries. And if you are new to MasterJSkills, please support by subscribing to MasterJSkills. And if any one of your friends are eager in learning Java and J2EE, please share with them. If you learned anything or something from this video, and if you really like this video, please like this video. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks again for watching.